So before I get into this video, I want to make a distinction. There's a difference between being polite and being politically correct. Being polite is waiting your turn in line. Being PC is prioritizing the needs of some people in line over others, and then telling the other people to change their behavior in order to suit the needs of the preferred people, all of which sounds pretty rude to me. All of the buzzwords I'm going to mention go far beyond politeness and deeply into the range of political correctness. I'm going to start with the least awful word going up to the most awful word. So let's get started. Here are the top 10 SJW buzzwords that I absolutely despise with a passion. 10. Women. Yes, women with a Y. I have no idea why this is even a thing. Why do you need to change the entire spelling of a word just so that it fits your authoritarian mindset? Oh right, I forgot these people want to control absolutely everything. I've heard the reason SJWs want to spell women this way is because the normal spelling is associated with men, and men are evil. This whole thing is so ridiculous that even SJWs don't really use this spelling. Only mainstream SJW source I've seen use it is everyday feminism. Hetero or cis normative. These shouldn't even be words. All these mean is that being straight or being not transgender is normal. I don't know why this is bad, but according to SJWs it is. And these are the people who claim to be fighting discrimination. True Scum. This is a derogatory term directed to anyone who believes you have to have dysphoria to be trans. In other words, anyone who believes in the actual definition of transsexuality. The reason SJWs will insult you for this is that they want to be special and call themselves trans even when they're not. The thing is, they're actually making it difficult for actual trans people by looking at all the hard work trans people have done to transition and then disregarding all of that, so that they can slap the label of transgender onto themselves while having no gender dysphoria and making no attempt to do anything to transition. If anything, they are the scum. 7. Dude bro. This is an insult towards men for being men, because somehow being a man, especially a masculine man, is bad. Yeah. But apparently, feminists don't hate men. 6. Cishet. This is another insult. This one for being not transgender and heterosexual. The funny thing about this word is that I've been called a cishet. So apparently you don't even have to be a cishet to be a cishet. You just have to disagree with SJWs. 5. Neurodiverse. This just means anyone who has a mental illness or disability. It's intended as the opposite of neurotypical, which is an actual scientific term. I have no idea why having a mental illness or disability is a good thing or makes you diverse or whatever. Having mental illness or disability makes your life harder. It doesn't make you any less of a person, but it doesn't make you any more of a person either. 4. Transmisogyny. This word literally makes no sense. Apparently if a trans woman is discriminated against, she must be being discriminated against for being trans and being a woman, because as you all know, women are oppressed. So if a black woman is discriminated against for being black, is that black misogyny? And these people will never talk about discrimination against trans men, most of which comes from their own community. I'll probably make a whole nother video on that. 3. People of color. This is one of the most patronizing terms I've ever heard, and its exact meaning isn't clear. It either means black people, black and Hispanic people, or an SJW trying to take the piss out of white people that occasionally includes Asians. I have a feeling Asians are going to be the next group for SJWs to hate, since they don't really fit the everyone who's not white is oppressed narrative. But anyway, this term is awful for 2 reasons. The first reason is it's often used to pat people on the back simply for their race, which sounds pretty racist to me. The second reason sounds exactly like colored people. You know, the term they called black people during the Jim Crow laws. 2. Latinx. It's funny that this term is used by the same people who complain about cultural appropriation, because it's an outright slap in the face to the Spanish language. As someone who studied Spanish for 3 years, I can tell you that nearly every adjective in Spanish is masculine or feminine, usually ending with o or a, respectively, but the masculine ending is usually the default for whatever reason. You could argue that Spanish is a sexist language because of this, but that's just the way it is. So naturally, Hispanic people are often called Latino or Latina, depending on their gender, but again, they are by default called Latino. But SJWs don't like this because gender is evil, so they end X instead of the O or A, which is nonsensical enough if it weren't for the fact that X is not really a letter or syllable in Spanish. Sure, we have proper nouns like Oaxaca and Mexico, but that's because those words are borrowed from the Aztec language, not from the original Spanish. So as a result, we get a word that makes no sense in the Spanish language. It would probably be hard for any native Spanish speaker to pronounce. How's that for discrimination against Hispanic people? And to make it even worse, it's often been used by SJWs in the context of the Orlando shooting as a means to spit in the face of LGBT people by making the shooting all about the fact that most of the victims of the shooting were Hispanic, even though they were killed for being gay, not Hispanic. 1. And finally, the worst phrase in the universe. The one phrase that can make me cringe so hard that I implode every time I hear it spoken unironically. If you guys ever want to torture me, just play me a tape of SJW saying this over and over again, and I will break. It just makes me want to be like, killing in the name of. The term is differently abled. I'm pretty sure all of you just simultaneously cringe in horror. This term makes no sense at all. It's extremely patronizing towards disabled people. A disability means that you can't or have trouble doing something. It's not a different ability. Sure, there are some people with disabilities and extraordinary abilities, like Stephen Hawking, for example. But just because Stephen Hawking is one of the greatest geniuses ever known, doesn't mean that he somehow doesn't have ALS. I hate to use their terminology, but I'd argue it's pretty ableist to write off somebody's disability just because you don't offend them in any way. The vast majority of disabled people have no problems with being called disabled, because that's what they are, and there's nothing wrong with admitting that. It's almost as if these SJWs are so uncomfortable with disabled people that they don't want to mention that these people are disabled, then they project by calling everybody else ableist. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and were able to get through all that cringe, and thanks for watching.